Hello, everybody, and welcome everyone to our Cafecito Cultural. And today, in this professional learning community, we have a special guest. Our guest today is Roberto Germán. Hello, Roberto. ¿Cómo estás? How are you?
Saludos, saludos. I'm well. I'm well. Thank you for having me on. Pleasure to be here with you this evening.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. We are happy to have you here today. So let everybody know right now who is Roberto Germán. Roberto Germán is a director at Headwater School. Did I say correctly?
Yes, yes. I
Headwater
served.
School, yeah, in Austin, Texas. And he also supported the open of Magnolia Montessori for All. I got my computer opening, the opening at Magnolia Montessori for All, I'm sorry, and serving as a director of student affairs and services. Roberto is the co-founder and executive director of Multicultural Classroom, an organization that focuses on helping participants understand the intersection of race, bias, education, and society through professional development, curriculum audits, speaking engagement, authorship, and content creation. Roberto's most cherished role is that of husband to Lorena and father of Annalise, Zion, and Sol. Correct? All right.
That is correct.
Perfect. So first,
My lady and my babies.
There you go. And can you please share a little bit more about you? Because I'm talking about all of these professionals biography that you have, but who is Roberto Germán? Where exactly, because you are from the Dominican Republic. That's why I put the nice sound in the flyer in there. And so where exactly from the Dominican Republic you are from and where you live now?
Yeah, let me back up and start with clarifying the beginning piece of the intro.
Okay.
I recently served as director at Headwater School in Austin, Texas. I was the director there, the principal there for the past 3 years. And then this summer, I moved to Tampa, Florida. And now I'm focusing on my business, Multicultural Classroom, and my edupreneur. So I'm a consultant, content creator, author. And then to the other part of your question in terms of, where I'm from, my background and whatnot. I'm from Lawrence, Massachusetts. I was born in this country. I'm from Lawrence, Massachusetts. Mis padres, my parents, son de la República Dominicana. My father is from Jaina, o sea, fuera de la capital, right outside the capital. My mother is from Samaná, peninsula in República Dominicana. And actually, Samaná was the first place in República Dominicana, first place to open themselves for Black folks, for formerly enslaved Africans in United States to live freely. So that's why Samaná has a fascinating history, and we won't get too deep into that now, but I think that's important to mention. So I'm from Lawrence, Massachusetts, and if you don't know about Lawrence, Massachusetts, Lawrence is very much a Dominican hub within the United States, has one of the highest Dominican populations outside of New York City in the United States, and it's only 7 square miles, but you're talking about 100,000 people, triple deckers and housing projects. We're all packed in together, and it's largely Dominican. Puerto Ricans also, so you got your Boricua, gente de Guatemala, pero mayormente Dominicanos. And so I very much grew up within the Dominican culture. My household, speaking Spanish, immersed in Dominican culture. My city, people around me, we're immersed in Dominican culture. And so it's very much part of who I am. So I'm very much dominicano de herencia y también de cultura, y también soy muy americano. So very much Dominican, and from my heritage and my culture, and also very, very much American.
Thank you. Thank you so much. A man of faith, a family man, educator, activist, right? Entrepreneur, poet, and rapper?
Yes, all essential to my makeup. You know,
Right.
my faith guides my perspective. It's core to who I am. And as mentioned, you know, I have a wife, Lorena Germán, who's you know, the co-founder and also academic director of Multicultural Classroom, also an author of The Anti-Racist Teacher, Reading Instruction Workbook, author of Textured Teaching. And then I have my babies, my kids, my 6-year-old Annalise, my 3-year-old Zion, Sion, and my 11-month-old Sol.
Oh, wow. 11 months old. That's a beautiful family, Roberto. And you also, I want you to talk about your new passion. I want to go and explore Roberto today. What is your new passion? What are you doing at this time? And what you're planning to do in the future?
Yeah, for sure. So I wouldn't say it's a new passion. I would say I'm investing in my passion differently than I have for the past 18 years, which for the past 18 years has been, well, at least 15 of the past 18 years in school leadership, in, you know, a number of different roles in school leadership as an administrator. And now I've pivoted, I'm doing something different. I'm focusing on my business. Again, I'm an entrepreneur. And Lorena and I started Multicultural Classroom in 2015. I serve as the executive director, and we're about bringing ABAR strategies and resources, so anti-bias and anti-racist strategies and resources to individuals and institutions that need support in that area. We all need support. The support looks different from one person or one institution to another, but we all need support because every day we're learning and growing, and or we should be learning and growing and challenging ourselves and dismantling our racist notions, this man, right, institutionally or individually, dismantling our bias, right? That applies to everybody. Bias applies to everybody. Prejudice applies to everybody, even if we're just talking about subconscious. And so we engage in that work. You know, we engage in what we engage in the very uncomfortable conversations that, you know, oftentimes people try to avoid. And we try to find ways to challenge and encourage people to think deeply, and more importantly, to act, right? So we're content creators. We create ABAR resources, anti-bias, anti-racist resources. We write books. I mentioned the Anti-Racist Teacher Reading Instruction Workbook and Textured Teaching, the newest publication. If y'all don't have that, go ahead and go cop that. Textured Teaching, Anti-Racist Teacher. You could get it at multiculturalclassroom.com, or you could go to Heinemann Publishing for Textured Teaching. Also, I am the host of the Our Classroom podcast. And so it's a new podcast, and I focus on bringing folks on to talk about education, because education's happening whenever and wherever we are willing to learn. So I love to bring people on to talk about education, o sea, the learning process. And not because education is not just restricted to what happens in schools, right? And so I love to bring in all types of folks. Yes, I bring in a lot of folks that are school folks, but I also bring in individuals of different backgrounds, different professions, to give them room to share about their educational journey, to give them room to share about what it is that they're doing, but to also to learn from them and hear their stories. And so that's my podcast, the Our Classroom podcast. And then additionally, again, content creators, we also create videos. And in my case, I have a focus on performing arts. So spoken word poetry, rap, you know, like I create videos through the arts that address a multitude of different issues, do a lot of work in English, do some work in Spanish, do Spanglish, because, you know, I really came up speaking Spanglish. And so it's part of who I am. I love to share that. And poetry is one of the ways that I share that.
Okay, perfect. And that take me to what I was thinking about to ask you is that how you can help our teachers in this professional learning community so that they can take this information to their classes. You know, the goal here is the student be more exposed to culture and diversity. So how can you contribute today to our group?
Yeah, you know, absolutely. Culture, we all have culture. We all carry culture with us. So culture is all around us, easy to access. So really, from my perspective, it becomes more of a matter of maintaining high curiosity about other cultures, right? Leading with curiosity. You got to have a hunger to want to learn about other people, other traditions, other cultures outside of your own. And so, again, one of the things that I try to do and do well is challenge and encourage, right? So I'm not just going to tell you like, hey, you know, you should go do this. No, I'm going to say, hey, you should go do this. And here are some resources to do that, right?
Exactly.
So that's part of what we do in Multicultural Classroom. We provide some resources. I mentioned a number of things that we do in terms of ABAR resources, books, curriculum, coaching, and then, you know, creating videos, right? Whether the video is an instructional video, and we actually have a workshop that y'all should check out. The workshop focuses on addressing bias, addressing racism and bias. Lorena's workshop through a group called Grassroots Workshop, and y'all should definitely check that out. But also, you know, I encourage teachers to take a lot of the resources that are there available to you that are free, that you could easily implement. And whether it's something I've created, Lorena's created, or other people have created, there's a lot of things out there. I encourage teachers to implement a textured teaching approach. Textured teaching is grounded in culturally sustained pedagogy. So we're talking about teaching that perpetuates and fosters linguistic, literate, and cultural pluralism as part of schooling for positive social transformation. That's a key term that we should all hold on to, social transformation. We want our students to have a transformative experience. And in order to offer them a transformative experience, we can't keep doing the same old, same old. We got to break the mold. So we got to dare to do something different. We got to lead with curiosity. Textured teaching is a framework for culturally sustaining practices. I'm highly biased because my wife published it, so I'm gonna be upfront. Highly biased, but it's good. It's good work. And really, it's just about like good teaching practices, right? So textured teaching is dedicated to inspiring a drive for positive social transformation in students. Again, textured teaching is dedicated to inspiring a drive for positive social transformation in students. Who doesn't want their students to experience positive social transformation? You know, I'd be appalled if anybody says they don't want that for their students, right? And so as Lorena states, Lorena Escoto Germán states in the book, who and what students see through their reading is key. All right, so what they see through their reading is key. So textured teaching is student driven, it's community centered, it's interdisciplinary, it's experiential, and it's flexible. I'm not gonna break each one of those down, but I will say that experiential and being flexible, you know, and community centered are, you know, things that, you know, if you just stop and think about it, like, wow, you know, how can we enrich the experience for our students? And I think about stuff that I was doing even before Lorena came up with this, you know, idea of textured teaching. Like I was doing this stuff, right? So I think about stuff I was doing with my students when I was teaching Spanish at St. John's Prep in Danvers, Massachusetts. And one of my things was like, man, I want this to feel very practical for them. I want to feel real. So when I have them, when we're doing exercises, when I have them doing work like creating a menu, and then thinking through how they you know would order off of this menu that's all in Spanish and whatnot. Like I'm having them go through the process. I'm having them create the menu. So they're doing the writing, they're thinking it through, they're drafting, they're editing, they're working with each other, right? So this collaboration, doing some peer edits, but then we're going out. We're going out to the field. We're gonna make this real. We're gonna go to a local spot where there's Spanish speakers, and you are going to practice, and you are gonna work through this and stay in the native language, right? Like many of our people, and I don't know if this is your experience, but I know, like, I think about my parents or my older sister, who my other sister was born in the United States, but my older sister was born in República Dominicana. She came when she was, I don't know, maybe 9, 13. I don't know how she was, something like that, maybe 9 years old. You know, but she had to come here. They had to come here and learn. They had to come here and struggle. They had to come here and work through that English. And the person on the other end's not trying to learn Spanish, not trying to understand, and not trying to make this accessible. So they had to struggle through it. So you got to give the students an opportunity to struggle through it. And it's okay. It's okay for you to struggle through it. And hopefully that also builds empathy, helps you understand what other people go through. And so I'm a big believer in making things practical for our students.
Practical for the students, practical for the teachers, because sometimes they don't do anything out of the zone of comfort because they think, oh, you adding more work to me. I'm gonna have to replan everything. And it's just to modify a little bit, but also having this set of mind that I want to bring culture and diversity to my classes. So the students be more exposed to real world scenarios. And I like the practice that you have. Like for me, I have limitations here in Hawaii because we don't have a community that I can take my students in there and they're going to learn firsthand. We don't have a big Hispanic community here, or either like business is just some Mexicans restaurants and some San Salvador, but then it's also a little bit far away from where I am. I'm in the other side of the west side of the island. I had to take my students to there. It's like a field trip and all type of stuff. So what I do, I create this scenario inside of my classroom. And if I got to do catering, then we put together, we do the catering, but we leave that moment, that unforgettable moment that these students will have, it will keep in mind. And pretty good to what you say, because they get more engaged. Sometimes the teachers ask like, well, my students, I don't know what else to do. I feel like they don't want to learn the language, or that I'm doing something wrong. We have to sit down and think about this.
Right.
Something in there is missing.
We got to find ways to make it engaging for the kids. Yes. Learning should be fun. Learning should be fun. And thankfully, the technology is so advanced that it allows us to do things that we couldn't do before. Virtual field trips, right? Tours. Bringing in somebody. I mean, I was doing some of this stuff years ago. I would have like my cousin and other people Skype in. I know people don't use Skype as much, but I would have them Skype in from La República Dominicana. You know, and we could do that via Zoom. We could do that with some of these other tools that are accessible to us. And even if you can't get the person live, you could get a recording of somebody sharing. Be like, hey, you know, me puede grabar un video diciéndole esto lo otro a los muchachos. Boom, you could get a recording and share with the kids. And then you could get, you know, examine, right? You can examine like the way this group of people speaks versus the way that group of people speak, right? Like, oh, you know, I lived in Texas for 7 years. Out there, you know, no hay muchos dominicanos out there, right? La mayoría son mexicanos, hay personas de Honduras, El Salvador, pero mexicanos, right?
Yes.
So, for example, en su cultura, ellos dicen frijoles for beans, right? We don't say in la República Dominicana, you know, we say habichuelas.
Habichuelas, exactly.
You know?
En Panamá se dicen porotos.
But like, you know, frijoles is not the common term for us. It's habichuela, you know? And so, again, you know, little things, little differences, little nuances that you could examine with the students, right?
Yeah, and they curious about all that, and they like to see the difference, the different ways to call different things that in English is just beans, right? But so talking about all this, you have a poem that is hitting hard right now in the different platforms. I've been seeing on the YouTube, and also I saw it the first time I saw it. I think it was in Facebook, if I'm not mistaken. It's called Yo Soy un Plátano.
Right.
Oh, I put it in my school, and the students were like, "What?" They were crazy with that. Can you recite
Oh,
that poem for us? So because we're recording this, okay?
yeah,
So
yeah, nah.
and then and also explain how teacher could use the poem in their classes, because it's not just
Yeah,
like the passion that you put on the poem, but now how they can use this.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll share the piece. First, I want to give it a little context. Um, you know, I wrote this a while ago, and I've been sitting on some material, a lot of stuff that speaks of my identity, right? My identity as a Dominican, my identity como hispanohablante, my identity as somebody who grew up in Lawrence, Massachusetts, like my unique experience, right?
Mhm.
And I worked with my young buck, Stalin Giraldo, um, who's from Lawrence, Massachusetts, up and coming filmmaker and artist, and he's gonna do great things. And you know what we're looking to do is create a series of pieces that address identity, address
Mhm.
our background as Dominicans, address our background como hispanohablantes, um, but really, bring culture out, right? Bring the culture out.
Yes. Yes.
So we want to find different ways to engage people, and so we have more videos coming. Also have the book, working on a children's book, Yo Soy un Plátano. So y'all stay tuned. Glad the students responded that way. But yeah, that's a little context for the piece. Just I wanted to do something real quick. And this I wrote it years ago. Lorena and I, if I remember correctly, were hosting a conference at the Boys and Girls Club of Lawrence. We were hosting a writing conference. And so if I'm going to challenge the group, and it was like, it was children, but also some of their parents were there, and some youth, also like youth writing leaders. But if I'm going to challenge a group to write, then I'm going to challenge myself to write also. You want to participate in the process. So that's what I came up with, shared it with the people. And yeah, it's going hard right now on the different platforms, and we're going to keep pushing.
And the good thing is that
Yes.
you have something to work with behind. It's just not the point, but it can be used as a template to have students explore, right, in the aspects of their own ethnicity.
Absolutely, absolutely. This,
Yes.
you could explore. Let me share the piece first, and then I'm gonna
Okay.
get into that a little bit in terms of ways teachers could use
There
that.
you go. It's all
So
yours.
yeah,
Go
this
ahead.
is titled Yo Soy un Plátano. Yo soy un plátano, verde y fuerte. I stand tall and proudly represent mi gente. My skin is thick, for sure, seguro, and I'm stronger than other crops, porque soy el maduro. Right for the picking, cuatro por peso, sounds nice with some chicken. Mm, 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 mm. Finger licking good. So,
Good.
when I think about that piece, like, I just think about like my culture, and I think of the plátano is a staple in Dominican culture. It really represents us, and so it really makes me feel at home in that way. And this poem's an identity. It's an identity poem central around a staple crop of the Dominican Republic, right? Si tú vas a un juego de pelota, you go to a baseball game in DR, you see people in the stands, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You see the Caribbean World Series when DR's playing, and like we're trying to make a rally, we might be down a couple runs and we're trying to make a rally. Tu ves los peloteros con su plátano. You see the baseball players with their plátanos, and so like it really represents our culture. And so this can be used as a template to have students explore an aspect of their own ethnic identity while expressing themselves in Spanish or Spanglish, as I did. So, if you have students that have an Irish background, right, then they might explore potatoes, as their staple crop. I mean, you get the point. You go down the line with, you know, these different ethnic groups and what their staple crop is. And I don't know if potatoes is still a staple crop for you know, the Irish,
Yeah.
but that's,
But
you know,
something that reflects the ethnic, and that they feel welcome, familiar, and not like, okay, it's not, the idea is not getting them confused, like, okay, now tú eres un plátano o algo, but go ahead and find out for your ethnicity what it represents, what is the more common things. And then you see, we're talking about plátano, there you go, food, we're talking about the unit of food, if somebody teaches that way, right? Identity, self-identity, because they first need to know who they are,
right.
respect their cultures and respect their values. So then when they go to learn what we're teaching, they come already with this respect about other people's culture, because I want to be respected as well. That's how I start my classes every semester. I got my students every different semesters. We do blocks, and it opens them, like I look at them and it's like, okay, I'm open to what you're bringing over. You're not attacking me right away with the grammar, with the thing. We're talking about me, and they feel important in their class. Therefore, they will be more engaged in your class as well.
Yeah, sometimes we're looking we see ourselves in these very limited ways, right? Like, you know, folks who just see themselves as white, or, you know, you just see yourself as black, or you just see yourself as, you know, Hispano, Latino. It's like, no. Like, dig a little deeper. Let's try to dig a little deeper, and it might force you to have to do some research, and that all that information might not be, you know, as readily available to you, because perhaps your family has been living like this for years or decades, or whatever the case is, like not really tapping into, not exploring their own ethnic identity. But that is something that we should be doing. Like, nah, don't tell me you're black or you're white. No, tell me about your ethnic background. You know, oh, your family comes from, you know, an Italian heritage. Let's talk about that. I love Italian food. You know, your family comes from you know, Korean background. Wonderful. Help me learn about your ethnic background. And so if you want to go further, right, you want to go more in depth with students, you could have them share the significance of the crop that they picked, right? You know,
exactly.
Like, yeah, why is this important to this particular country? Yeah, you know, like, why? You could also have students share the history of the crop as it relates to the country the students are associated with, right? So that, you know, they could think about it for themselves, like, you know, what's the significance? Why'd you pick this? But then they could think about it in terms of like, what's the significance for your particular country? So just a few quick hitters in terms of how teachers could explore that and push it a little deeper.
All right, Roberto, thank you so much for this opportunity to share with you, with the people in the PLC about all this. I'm sharing all of the websites and links available for them to follow you and get in contact with you. And I'm gonna leave the microphones open if someone have anything to say to Roberto, any questions. You can unmute yourself now.
Yes, follow us at Multicultural Classroom across all your platforms.
Yeah, I'll put it on the chat, and I'm gonna send it back again.
Go to our website, multiculturalclassroom.com. Go to our website again. I mentioned some resources for y'all. The Anti-Racist Teacher Read Instruction Workbook and Textured Teaching, both available now. Go to the website. You will not be disappointed.
Well, Roberto, I don't have no way how to thank you for this time, for be here with us to share all this. Once I pass this information into Facebook, they also can just click on it and just follow you in there, go directly to all of your links. Okay, so we have finished another Cafecito Cultural. Thank you everybody for being here with us today. We're gonna have more Cafecito Culturales to this week. We close in November. And I think we have 2 or 3 more. So keep in touch with us. And gracias, Roberto. Y nos vemos hasta la próxima. Adiós.
Okay, gracias.